On the recent episode of the Mighty Cast, Daniel Cormier and Demetrious Johnson discussed and debated at length my takes on MMA grappling, where I believe that USA wrestling credentials are meaning less and less and less and becoming less and less effective when it comes to translating into successful grappling in mixed martial arts and more specifically in the UFC. Daniel Cormier is going to disagree with this take yet again. I made a video a while ago debating Daniel Cormier on this because Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen discussed this same topic on their very own show, and DC disagreed. You're wrong. He's wrong. He's wrong, Chael. That's what DC said over and over again in that original video, and Chael agreed with me. And now we're in the same position again. Demetrious Johnson agrees with my take. Daniel Cormier can't agree with it. And when I tell you that he can't agree with it, I'm not saying that he doesn't agree with my take. You'll see in today's video, because it's become majorly apparent to me, that it's not that he doesn't agree with my take, it's that he can't agree with it. Okay, so he will agree with my take, and he will completely understand it. However, he'll say I'm wrong. Okay? That's what we're in for. It's going to be a real roller coaster of a video, you guys. And it starts right now.
Pivot, you know, one of the friend of the show, MMA Guru, and I kind of believe him on this. He says, if you...
DJ agrees with me. Friend of the show, by the way, as well. I'm a friend of the show, you guys. I'm a pretty big deal, okay? But still, DJ agrees with me.
If you have wrestling, your wrestling pedigree is from America, I don't give a shit what it is. If you're coming from Caucasus, meaning like, you know, Dagestan, Georgia, the wrestling is better, right? And
wait.
I don't.
Immediately, DC has a problem, okay? Immediately, he has awoken from his slumber, and he has a problem with this take, okay? Now, I don't think this is a wrong take whatsoever. I don't know how DJ specifically worded this. Maybe he did so wrong. I'm going to give him one more time. But I don't know what in that statement was disagreeable to DC.
America, I don't give a shit what it is. If you're coming from Caucasus, meaning like, you know, Dagestan, Georgia, the wrestling is better, right? And
wait.
I don't know.
Maybe DJ should have said for MMA at the end of it. But I think that's very obvious what we're discussing here. Okay? Because you've debated this with me before, DC. You know my stance. Caucus grappling in general, whether it be sambo or whether it be wrestling or, you know, anyone from that region of the world seems to do better with their grappling in MMA than the USA. And I'll go one further. Khamzat Chimaev was on the Swedish team in freestyle wrestling, I believe, and Bo Nickel mocked him for it as being such a rudimentary amount of experience and accolades, and he doesn't have any of these like titles or this or that, and he was actually mocking Khamzat Chimaev for it. Chimaev's one of the most dominant grapplers maybe in UFC history. He's really, really dominant with his grappling, whereas Bo Nickel, with all of these USA accolades, and all of these division this, and NCAA this, and a title of this, and a state this, and all of those things, he can't really get his grappling off the same way as Chimaev can in MMA. There is nothing wrong with that statement, but DC seems to disagree.
In Georgia, the wrestling is better, right? And
wait.
I don't know what he said
better?
for better.
What's better?
Because
I know, you, like MMA Guru, I don't really know who he is.
Yes.
Loud and clear, DC. You don't know who I am. Now you've said that a few times. Once you've burned that once, you can't say it again. Okay? We've been here before. DC's he's brought up my take on his own show with Chael, thinking that Chael would agree with him. Chael didn't. And then it's I have no idea who this MMA Guru guy is, but here's this take that we have to discuss on the show. DC, listen, I hate to be egotistical about this. I think DC knows who I am. I think DC has heard of me, seeing as he has discussed a take of mine and debated it on his show before. I made a 300,000 view video about how fat you are. I know someone sent that to DC. I know DC at least got a glimpse of the thumbnail at some point on his recommended. But I'm not sure though, of course. DC always never fails to mention that he has no idea who I am. Okay? And I'm a big fan of DC. I just noticed that. He seems to constantly have to mention, He doesn't have any clue who that guy is.
Nobody said for Britain.
What's better?
Because
I know he's like MMA Guru. I don't really know who he is.
Yes.
But I've heard his name come up a bunch.
Yeah.
Tell me what he said exactly.
If I see someone from the Caucasus and I say they've got a wrestling background and they're from that region, I'm looking at them and I'm like, God, this guy's probably going to make it to the top. I look over the Atlantic and I see some kind of prospect. High school this, national comp this. Yeah, I just watched you fucking put your head against someone's leg on the Contender Series for 3 rounds and get out damaged and lose. But DC says I'm wrong.
I don't know what he said.
That guy was spitting. I don't know who that guy was, but he had some great takes. Okay, I wish I could listen to him more often, but that's so true. That's so true. Time and time again, we are seeing USA wrestlers with a childhood in wrestling have their takedowns stuffed by some kickboxer, by some other guy, by some European guy who was into Muay Thai once when he was a kid, or was into boxing and then transitioned into MMA. These guys didn't wrestle as kids, yet they're able to stuff and deal with the takedowns against Americans. Now, they may stand a chance against some guys from the Caucasus and they can make adjustments. Listen, I understand that stopping a takedown from happening is one thing and then out grappling someone is another thing. Like, stopping it entirely is an easier thing. That's why strikers have an advantage. They have the cage to work with as well. That's a huge advantage for strikers. But I notice a trend, and that's my take. USA wrestlers, when I see a bit of credentials of, oh, this guy wrestled at this state or at this college or Division 1 here, Division 2 here, whatever it might be, 10 years of wrestling here, I don't trust it anymore. Yet when I hear about a guy from the Caucasus who has done some background in Greco-Roman or this, I don't even need to hear accolades. I'm worried. I'm worried that he's going to ragdoll one of these guys. You know? And I don't worry about USA wrestling like that. And I think it's drastically changed. And I think everyone who's been watching the sport recently has noticed it. And I think Bo Nickel versus Reina Derrida was the ultimate example of this. I'm not telling you that if Bo Nickel was from the Caucasus, he would, like, what am I trying to say? I'm not telling you that some guy from the Caucasus would destroy Reina Derrida. But what I am saying is this: Chimaev would have an easier time out grappling Reina Derrida than Bo Nickel would. And Cody Brundage than Bo Nickel did in their fight. And Jamie Pickett than Bo Nickel did, who he had to groin shot to even get the takedown on in the first place. And you heard it from Bo Nickel himself. He scoffs at how little experience Chimaev has in grappling and in wrestling. Oh, the guy's 12-1 in Swedish national wrestling, in freestyle wrestling in Sweden. Pretty cool, man. Well, Chimaev's the most dominant force, and you're not. So clearly there's a difference, but we're going to let it keep playing.
So, like,
I think what he said exactly is that I don't care what your wrestling pedigree is in America. Like, if you have like NCAA, whatever it is,
it's better over there.
No, if you're going to get somebody.
No, DC. Stop trying to make me have a take that you can disagree with. Listen to the take, okay? Listen to DJ as he lectures you on why you're wrong on this topic, DC.
NCAA, whatever it is.
It's better over there.
No, if you're going to get somebody who has like a sambo background or a wrestling background from, you know, what was it, Caucasus? What did you say?
The Caucasus Mountains. That's where Khabib is in, Caucasus region.
Caucasus region, right? It don't mean that means more than an NCAA title.
I don't know about the direct comparison of it meaning more than an NCAA title, but DJ has the gist of my take at least. Okay? He has the gist of my take. If you have any kind of wrestling background from that region of the world, or honestly at this point from any other region of the world nearly, but Northern America, you seem to do better in MMA with your grappling than you do if you are from the USA. These USA guys aren't getting to people's backs and choking them out like that. They really aren't. They used to. USA guys used to dominate the sport with their wrestling. When I used to see a UK guy going in there against a US fighter, I'd think, fucking hell, here we go again. Another UK fighter's going to get ragdolled by some grappler from the USA because he wrestled in high school. That's not the case anymore. And it kind of hasn't been the case since Leon stopped Usman's takedowns. You know, since the fall off, or maybe since Usman's bounce back, you can't say that. But since Usman, Leon, and then Covington's takedowns not working, and then Bo Nickel, like, never getting there in the first place, I think I'm correct. I'm not comparing some random guy over there to an NCAA title. But what I'm saying is it holds more value elsewhere. if you say you're a grappler from here than if you say you're a grappler from the USA. It just does.
Like
in mixed martial arts.
Wait. He said a combat sambo means more. Combat sambo.
Look it up real quick. She's gonna look
I didn't say combat sambo.
it up.
It has to be combat sambo.
Well, I think
No, it's not, DC. It's not, DC. Stop trying to disagree with me. We can be friends. I like DC, man. I'm a big fan of DC. I think he got done dirty in his career, and I think he's underrated. We can be friends, man. You don't have to disagree with me, but he means combat sambo. He must. Combat sambo? No, I don't. Stop direct, because what he's going to do is he's going to say, well, combat sambo, they do submissions and striking. So, of course. But even if it's not submissions and striking, a combat sambo guy will have an easier time taking down an opponent in the cage. I mean, Merab Dvalishvili versus Henry Cejudo. How many more golden examples do you need? Gold medalist? What a golden example. I didn't even mean to say that. That's a golden example. Merab hoisting him up on his shoulder. Aljo can't take down O'Malley. Merab, whoop, up you get. Off he wanders around the cage with an opponent over his shoulder in a fireman's carry. But DC is going to make it sambo so he can say, oh, but they do jiu-jitsu and striking, so they're obviously better for MMA. That's not my point.
he just said he doesn't.
Because if it's combat sambo,
it's totally different.
Yes, because they strike, they do jujitsu, they do all kinds of stuff.
That's why I was.
That's different.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is American wrestling does not translate.
Translate, yes.
Yes. Michael, and I know that voice, okay? That's Michael laying down the law in the background there, like, no, DC. This is what Guru means, okay? That's Michael. Shout out to my boy Michael in the background, dude, laying down the law real quick.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is American wrestling does not translate.
Translate, yes.
The biggest thing is that American wrestling is not translating into MMA. Now, obviously it does a tad, but it's not effectively, okay? Where it's a force to be reckoned with in MMA, like other fight styles are, or like other regional training systems are. USA wrestling does not seem to translate effectively into MMA anymore. You've got to mix it up. And it didn't used to be the case, but now it's the case. The game has evolved past US wrestling. I believe so. But, we'll see what DC has to say about it.
It doesn't. I agree with them. Here's the reason why.
Tell me.
I agree with them because you think about it. When does somebody start wrestling? And I didn't start wrestling in America. I didn't start wrestling. Yeah.
Don't mind me and my friends just laughing, guys. Me and my friends, we're just laughing. You know what I mean? I've got so many friends. But let's take it away, DJ.
I didn't start wrestling until I was in 8th grade, right?
Like America, like where else did I live?
Yeah. I didn't start wrestling until 8th grade, right?
Yeah.
And all I did was spear wrestling. When would you say somebody in Dagestan or Georgia start combat or just start combat sambo or sambo in general?
So they start wrestling, and wrestling in all these sports around 5 years old.
5 years old, right?
They start going, they really identify what they're best at, is my understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So if you show more potential in Greco-Roman, they move you to just Greco-Roman. If you show more potential in freestyle, they move you there. Combat sambo, they'll move you. They move you into the places that they think you are more equipped for.
Mm-hmm.
Then
Wow, so he's explaining what they do over there that separates them from the US, is what is. Now, very important to mention as well, in the first video that I made on this that DC responded to, or that I responded back to DC with, DC's response to me saying that USA wrestling has fallen off in MMA was to say, no, it hasn't. Look at Makachev, Topuria, and Merab. The comment on this video the top comment is literally saying that. Remember when Guru said there's no USA wrestling effectiveness in MMA anymore, and DC said he's wrong, and to prove that he's wrong, he listed 3 guys from the Caucasus to prove why he's wrong. DC's telling me that this take is wrong, and now he's listing why the Caucasus regime of grappling, and whether it be Greco-Roman or Sambo or wrestling, whatever it may be, as you just saw him list, they do a better job of specifying what people are best at what. That's not the only reason, in my opinion. But DC is proving my point while disagreeing with me. Again, is he not allowed to agree with me? This is what I start to wonder sometimes when it comes to these guys that work for the UFC. I'm not sure. I like DC though, so I'm not going to do any personal attacks, even though I did make a whole video about how he's fat. I do like DC. I think he's a good dude, but I just... You're allowed to agree with me, right? Because you do.
You train that specifically
Until
you get to whatever you're going to be.
Gotcha.
World champion, Olympic champion, whatever that desired peak is in the sport. But to say anything is, I don't think that's true, because we wrestle from a young age. I started at 10 years old.
Not 5. You just... we wrestled from a young age. I wrestled at 10 years old. You just said the guys at the Caucus are wrestling from 5. And they get specialized into what they show talent in. And before they even get to 10, they're locked in. You're going to be a world champ at this. You're going to be a world champ at that. And in the middle of that, he just said, and if you say anything, you're wrong.
The sport. But to say anything is, I don't think that's true, because...
But to say anything, I don't think that's true.
We wrestle from a young age. I started at 10 years old.
damn.
And they start from 5. But it's still not my point. But he's still disproving made up points that I don't even have. DC's making up arguments and then defeating them. My thing with DC is always confusing to me, because he makes up my arguments and then he makes sure he loses the argument against it, and then goes, and that's why he's wrong. That's what DC does. Come on, DC, man. It's a good take. It's obvious. Where's the US wrestling guy in the UFC right now? Where's the US champ? One of them. The UK's got champs. Australia's got... Right now, it's the Caucus guys versus Australians, Europeans, and Brazilians. And we're all looking at the US like, you guys are going to fucking jump in? Yeah, that's what it is. It's the UK, Australia, and Brazil, and then the Caucus. That's the sport right now. And the US are sitting there like, no, we're not. We haven't fallen off. And it's that level of delusion. You're not going to evolve. You're not gonna chase back the ebb and flow of the sport. The rest of it's gotten better. Catch up. Stop coping and saying it's not true that we're worse while you have no champions right now. Honestly, either way.
I was a kid. I went to my first world championships at 15.
But I think if you take 100 wrestlers who've wrestled in America, and you take 100 people from Georgia, Dagestan, I think the numbers...
I can't agree with that, man.
Really?
Man,
You didn't even hear what he was going to say yet. You didn't even hear... I know what he was suggesting that he was going to say there. But you didn't even hear his fucking point there, DC, and you were already ready to disagree.
Wrestlers who've wrestled in America, and you take 100 people from Georgia, Dagestan, I think the numbers...
I can't agree with that, man.
Really?
Man, you're going crazy. You let this dude convince you that?
You let this dude convince you that? Dude, DC's accusing me of brainwashing DJ with these takes. DJ, I'm not brainwashing you, okay? And I've had a lot of Dude, why does everyone keep saying I'm brainwashing people? Bisping said this shit before. Nina Drama said it as well. And then some other guy on Twitter recently popped up saying I'm brainwashing people about John Jones. Dude, is it like a key word? I'm not brainwashing anyone. This is a correct take. If you took 100, let me put it to this, because DJ didn't get to finish his point before DC jumped in to correct him and say that he's wrong. But DJ was about to say, if you take 100 people from the USA and you take 100 people from the Caucus and put them against each other, the guys from the Caucus would win. I would say that's a very agreeable statement. If they all can grapple in their own field, I'd say on average the guys from the Caucus can win, because they're a much more niche. I mean, think about the population of them and how many successful guys they have compared to the USA. It's non-comparable. You are much likely to have a fucking gem picked out in the 100 of the Dagestani Caucus guys than you are from the 100 guys that are in the US and have a wrestling background. Absolutely true. But the way I would phrase that argument is, if you took 100 guys with wrestling backgrounds from the Caucasus and 100 guys with wrestling or grappling backgrounds, Greco-Roman, Avilia Tapuria, any of these grappling backgrounds from the USA, and put them in martial arts, in mixed martial arts, the Caucasus guys are going to succeed way more than the guys from the USA. No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. And you know what? I don't even think it's because of sambo and how they mix in the striking as well. Now, you could say it is, but I think even if you remove that element, I think they just outdo these guys at just getting takedowns. Forget mixing it up in MMA as a sport. Let's take striking out of this. 100 guys from the Caucasus with grappling backgrounds, 100 guys from the USA with grappling backgrounds. Put them in martial arts and tell them to only use grappling to win. You know the answer. Caucasus guys are going to make it to the top because they got a better system. They've got a better system of grappling for real combat, for martial arts, for a mix of it all. They're better. Their grappling can better adjust to a whole wide range of styles than USA grappling can. USA grappling and USA wrestling seems to work on other people founded and rooted in USA wrestling. Once you take that away, we got guys on the Contender Series with a fucking state trophy in this, and they've been wrestling since they were 7 years old, and now they're 25, and they're going in there against a K1 kickboxer. Alex Pereira made it to a world championship. Like, do I need to go on? Do I need to go on here? And these guys on the Contender Series with all these accolades from school and high school and college and this, they'll go on the Contender Series and they'll lose to some Brazilian guy that did a bit of kickboxing when he turned 18. There's no doubt in my mind that's a correct statement from DJ if he were to be allowed to finish it.
You take 100 people from Georgia, Dagestan. I think the numbers...
I can't agree with that, man.
Really?
Man, you're going crazy. You let this dude convince you that? That is not true, dog. Man, you tripping.
I think it translates...
I'm not brainwashing him. You let him convince you that. I'm not convincing anyone of anything. This is true.
This dude convince you that? That is not true, dog. Man, you tripping.
I think it translates more because you think about the striking.
Tell me combat sambo.
Combat sambo.
Okay.
Yes.
Now I agree.
Okay, yeah.
Because
combat
they're
sambo.
striking.
But if it's just wrestling versus wrestling, you can't. No.
You don't know that.
You don't know
who's gonna be.
DJ's meeting him in the middle here to keep the flow of conversation going because they're boys and he's not trying to be all combative and die on the hill of MMA Guru's take. I'll die on the hill of my take. Yes, it's correct. 100 grapplers from the Caucasus, 100 grapplers from the USA. The 100 grapplers from the Caucasus will be better. Are you noticing nothing that's going on in the current world of combat sports and martial arts? Are you noticing no trend? You're ignoring reality with that deep head of his. You know what I mean? I don't like taking fun of DC, but I just noticed it right now. That head has some depth. You know what I mean? I don't even think, listen, there's width, there's height. That's depth. You know what I mean? That's the third dimension right there of head that he's got, dude. That is far. But either way, I'm just going to, we'll keep it real. I like DC, but it's a correct take. I mean, it's nothing to do with sambo and how they mix in the striking. Marab's carrying Cejudo over his fucking shoulder. You know what I mean?
Be more successful in the UFC.
But when it's combat sambo, when it's like, okay, I'm training leg locks at 8 years old.
Yes.
I'm going to be way better off than a guy who's just training
MMA.
In MMA.
Except for the outliers. Except for the outliers, right? There are outliers.
What outliers, DC? What outliers are there right now in the sport, dude? Except for the outliers. Okay, we're still waiting for him. Okay, Sean Brady. Okay. He's not a champion. He's a top 5 contender. That's what you got. Cool. The outlier. Do you know that Olympian? Sean Brady in wrestling with all those USA. It's all good.
Outliers. Like myself.
Yes.
Like you.
Yes.
Like Henry Cejudo.
Yes, that's what you had.
They're not here anymore. And Cejudo got fucking chucked out the cage down there by Marab. This guy's living in alternate dimensions to beat me in. Dude, I can't beat DC in a debate. But then there's outliers that disprove what you're saying, DJ. And think about you and me and Cejudo. None of them are around. Cejudo's around, but he's not there. You know? He isn't. He hasn't been able to effectively get a takedown on someone since how long? Probably since the DJ rematch, okay? DJ a little bit smaller than him, and DJ held his own in that matchup in the grappling, despite not having the accolades that DJ had. This can happen within the USA. You know? This can happen within the USA, where DJ, who doesn't have the same level of accolades as Cejudo does in wrestling, can do his own in the grappling against Cejudo. You know? How's he listing Outliers? I can't beat DC in the debate because he jumped into alternate dimensions to argue me. The first time I said, Caucus guys are better than USA guys at wrestling. US wrestling isn't really effective anymore in current day MMA. And DC said, that's not true. What about Ilya Topuria, Marab, and Makhachev? Okay, so we're in an alternate dimension where I said that where you've disproved a completely incorrect thing that I didn't even say. And now it's there, and now we're living in the fucking past. Now DJ's fucking time, now DC, sorry, is time warping. Back in time to say, what about the outliers like me and you, DJ? And DJ's been retired for years. So have you. Sports moved on. Sports changed. And American wrestlers did not take your place. Ankalaev did. Pantoja did. You know? Like Henry Cejudo wasn't replaced by an American wrestler. He was carried over the shoulder like a baby by Marab, who ain't no Olympian in wrestling. Sorry, let's just say it how it is.
Have 100 of us.
Yes, there are outliers that will be better than that guy.
Yes, because I did fight Ali Bogatinov, who was a sambo combat world champion.
Underrated title defense, Lucas Tracy. Just saying. I listen, Lucas Tracy. Underrated title defense.
And when I got in there, I just ate his ass up in the clinch.
Of course.
I beat him up in the, I think he took me down, I stood back up. I was able to take him away from that. But when you look at guys like...
You're talking about if we put 100 wrestlers, 100, and we just do the data, they'll probably have more success because they've been striking and grappling long.
Exactly, in mixed martial arts. So I can understand, but if it goes for, wrestling, I don't think that's a fair assessment, right?
It's not a fair assessment because when we do wrestling, they beat us.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose my mind at DC, chat. I'm going to lose my mind. I don't think energy has left my body in that way in so long. That was pure rage I just had. So you can't listen. It's with DC, you got to just be along for the fucking ride. Because we're in a fucking circus of a debate right now. Okay? And honestly, DC, I don't think this will be resolved until we're in person having a debate with each other about this. I'm gonna put that to you, DC. But listen to him. You can't compare wrestling on wrestling. They do beat us. So I'm right. Look at it back.
Mixed martial arts. So I can understand, but if it goes for, wrestling, I don't think that's a fair assessment, right?
It's not a fair assessment because when we do wrestling, they beat us.
Yeah.
That's not a fair assessment because when we wrestle, they beat us. So Guru's right. So that's not a fair assessment because that would mean that I'm wrong. So that's not fair. Like, you can't do that. You can't argue like that. DC, you agree with me, man. So you're allowed to say openly on record, I agree with MMA Guru. Or aren't you? I don't know. But all good.
Yeah.
Historically, they've been beating us.
Yeah.
Just reiterate my point.
But we've had a run recently where we were the best team in the world. So it's like it kind of goes and flows. When I was a kid...
Yep.
Goes and flows because you've had a run recently, but throughout the time, they've been beating your ass. Let's just call it what it is. I know somewhat about US wrestling, and historically, they do fucking ragdoll you guys. Let's just say it how it is. But, you've had a bit of a run. So that disproves my whole point. None of which is applying to MMA, by the way. None of which is applying to MMA.
We were the best team in the world again because Kevin Jackson and Kenny Monday and John Smith and
all those UFC world champs. There's just so many of them. You know what I'm saying? And listen, it's not like these other guys aren't, like all of their Olympians are actually chasing things in the UFC. You'll hear about some Dagestani guy who ragdolled 3 American guys for his fucking Olympic medals. He ain't done a day of MMA in his life. So it's not like, oh, that's because US wrestling, none of their guys are actually doing MMA. No, like, we're getting Dagestani rejects and they're fucking ragdolling us. We're getting rejects. These aren't the Olympians. Khabib weren't no Olympian. Then goes into MMA. Neither Makhachev. We're getting the runt of the litter. The guys that couldn't make the Olympic team. And now they think, I guess MMA will do. I'll get into sambo and start doing my MMA training. And then they become world champ. So that argument doesn't work either.
And Kendall Cross and Tom Brands, Terry Brands, we were the best in the world.
Yep.
Right? And then they started beating up on us all the way through the years I was wrestling. The Russians were the best.
Yep.
And then after that, when Jordan Burroughs and Kyle Dake and David Taylor, we were the best in the world again.
So it's always going like this.
It's going up and down. But right now, they're the best.
Okay, so even... so this is nothing to do with my take. We've turned the argument into a different realm where DC can win. And he's still lost. Because you just said at the end there that they're better than you right now. And that's my take. That's my warped take that you've shapeshifted into a take that you can defeat. You've literally fucking transformed my take into a take that you could perceivably defeat by not applying it to MMA whatsoever, like my main point of my fucking take. And then you transition it to just pure wrestling, and then you just said it here at the end.
Again.
So it's always going like this.
It's going up and down. Burroughs and Kyle Dake and David Taylor. We were the best in the world again.
So it's always going like this.
It's going up and down. But right now, they're the best.
All that yapping for nothing. Why are you disagreeing with me and shunning me out of this scene? I'm a good guy. Come on, man. We can be friends, DC. Honestly, I don't understand.
They're the best again.
Yep.
In Dagestan, people are the best.
Yeah.
Like it's
So I'm double correct. Triple correct, some would say. Just go and tell me how much more correct I am, DC.
It's a lot of wrestlers from that region.
Yep.
So right now, they're the best. But again,
now, he'll talk about Dagestan. Remember all the stories about Habib ragdolling Rockhold? And Makhachev goes with Rockhold in the gym. The amount of times these guys have... Dude, let's just call it what it is. AKA got fucking replaced. AKA got replaced. Straight up. And they literally got... I don't want to use these terms because I don't want to get banned off YouTube or like demonetized or something. But they got nationally replaced, I guess you could say. When they brought these Russian guys into AKA, that was the gym. That's the talent you now have coming out of your gym. Is the Habibs and the Makhachevs. Where's the other AKA guys? They were all American wrestlers. The American Kickboxing Academy. The American wrestlers would go there, learn kickboxing, and that's how it was. You had Kane, you had Luke, you had DC, you had all these guys. Then they had Dagestanis and Deron Win. That was their next generation. You guys got fucking cut out the food chain from underneath you by importing these guys into your gym. You know it. You watched it happen on your mats, and you'll still tell me I'm wrong.
we will have kids in America that will ultimately get to a point where they get good enough.
Oh, fuck off, dude. I'm not even hungry as well. Oh, it's unskippable shit. I was about to dunk DC again, dude. Orange screen of nothing? What kind of fucking advert is this? And another one. And another one. Another one they do. They do another one on top. Get fucking rid of them.
So right now, they're the best. But again, we will have kids in America that will ultimately get to a point where they get good enough, then we're the best.
Yep.
And then they'll...
But not with this attitude. And also, I don't know about that, by the way. I don't know about that. I don't know if there's going to be this second turn of a tide where all of a sudden prospects in the US just get really tough and savage all of a sudden. With the way Western society's going, just in general, don't want to get too political about it, I highly doubt that the USA are breeding more savages than the Caucasus right now, okay? I don't know. I don't want to tell you what Georgia just banned outright in its country, but there may be some correlation with how many world champions they have right now, okay? Just being set, just being real. Not with this attitude, DC. If you can't admit that they are doing something, and again, this isn't even applying to MMA, but if you can't admit that they're doing something better than you for mixed martial arts, the USA will become obsolete in mixed martial arts. Learn, overcome, adapt, adjust, or cope, and keep losing, and you still have no champs. You still have no champs. JDM's a champ. Stuffing Bilal's takedowns. Think about that. Think about that. JDM, Australian, rugby player, picked up MMA as an adult. Figured it out. Figured out what a lot of US guys couldn't against Bilal. It's the truth. A lot of UK guys as well couldn't figure out against Bilal, to be honest. But you know what I'm saying. Brady got all his takedowns stuffed and just quit and got broke, you know? Volkanovski picked up MMA as an adult. Goes out there, does better against Makhachev than any US wrestler on his resume. Got a ton of guys on Makhachev's resume that wrestled really well. Volk did better than all of them. Because they're not rooted in this mindset of our way is the best. And no, they're learning, they're new. And I think that actually helps the UK and Australia and other parts of Europe and Brazil as well. And maybe Brazil's different with jiu-jitsu, so they're still kind of stuck in the old ways as well. But they have this new look on things where they're not rooted in any way of doing things. They're just in the moment coming up with a new way of doing things that works. Whereas the USA is kind of rooted in this old way. And Bo Nickel just proved that that ain't the fucking way. Okay? Because he can't get takedowns.
They'll come back. It is
ebbs and flows. It ebbs and flows. But I just, it's always fascinating to see where, when it comes to mixed martial arts, I feel it's obviously the best transition because they start at such a young age.
I think it is.
They're always striking. They're always grappling. They're you look at fucking Merab's wrestling, how he's able to transition from, he gets a guy against the cage, he goes to inside sweep, they defend that, he goes to out. It's like, dude.
He's using his feet. That's why Islam and Khabib were so good. Whereas we were like attacking the legs.
Yes.
They do stuff with the run pipe and then they'll kick your foot from under you.
Yep.
That's where they got really good. And I think that comes from the combat sambo. Yep.
Okay, so they have a way of wrestling. So DC, you're saying that Makhachev, Khabib, and Merab have a way of wrestling that comes from somewhere else, or from combat sambo as a kid, but their way of wrestling that's where they take it to a different level. Because you guys just do what you do, and then they started doing what they do, and that's what separated them from the pack.
So good.
Defend that, he goes to out. It's like, dude.
He's using his feet. That's why Islam and Khabib were so good. Whereas we were like attacking the legs.
Yes.
They do stuff with the run pipe and then they'll kick your foot from under you.
Yep.
That's where they got really good. And I think that comes from the combat sambo. Yep. That comes from that. It's like judo almost.
Yeah.
Because they wear a gi top whenever they fight as kids. Yep.
Yeah. So it's like a different grappling art. And therefore they're more effective in MMA than you guys. You agree with me, DC. Stop disagreeing with me on bullshit. There's so much to disagree with me on. Don't die on this hill, DC. Die at the ripe old age of 45 with a Ben & Jerry's tub on that stomach. That's the dream. Sorry. Don't die on this hill though, DC. There's no need. We can be friends. There's really no need. There's really no need to debate this. I'll ruin you. I'm correct. You know I'm correct. You're saying I'm correct. After telling me how wrong I am. Same thing happened on the show with Chael Sonnen. And then even at the end of this pod as well, someone said that he kind of referenced me a little bit. I don't know if it was just a cheap little dig at the end, but he referenced some guy. What do you want to do? You want to listen to some guy in his basement? They're talking about how good they are on commentary. By the way, that's literally the segment name. Why Anik, Rogan, and DC are so good on commentary. All good. And they're talking about why they're so good.
Invites you to visit.
Dude, how many? Am I exposing MightyCast for ad spamming on their show? Either way, sorry.
Well, like I said, I enjoy it. My mother-in-law enjoys it. She goes, she's a big fan of yours.
And speak to the common fan.
Yeah, they're talking about why they're good at commentary and why they can speak to the common fan. And then DC says this.
Yeah. Who are you trying to talk to? The dude that's in his basement? Like, who are you trying to talk to? The guy's in his basement breaking down the fight?
I think
that's me, obviously. I'm not in my basement, but they always do that. I feel like that's me. He's like, oh, that's why we're so good on commentary, because we can talk to the common fan. Who are you trying to listen to? Some dude in his basement breaking down the fights? All right. I'm not in a fucking basement. See you later. Goodbye. Toodle pip. Thank you for watching. DC, we agree. Stop pretending to disagree with me. Stop just saying those key words. I don't know who this guy is, and I disagree with him. And then going on for 5 minutes to agree with me. Fucking pissing me off. USA Wrestling is becoming less and less effective for MMA, and they are becoming less and less effective and prevalent in the UFC because of it. And unless you make something change, unless you change something and adjust, you're going to be left in the dust with nothing but Sean Brady as your one and only hope. It's the truth. Goodbye.